All right, everybody, welcome to another wrestling podcast. I'm JB, and today we have a very special show, a Thanksgiving-sized show, if you will. Joining us today on another wrestling podcast, the current reigning and defending Ring of Honor television champion and the president and creator of Shane Taylor Promotions, none other than Shane Taylor.
Appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
All right, so this is a first timer for us, first time on our podcast, and you're really busy. You're in Ring of Honor right now, going around the world defending that title. With the other promotions that are out there right now, it's important for me. I always like to know how the people feel about where they're at. So Ring of Honor, it's referred to by some people as a second or third to WWE. Where do you put the level of talent and the promotion itself, Ring of Honor? Where do you put that amongst the other wrestling promotions today?
From our roster, top to bottom, I believe that Ring of Honor has the best wrestlers in the world. I don't think that if you put together a 10-man team and gave everybody 5 matches, that there's anybody in the world that's outperforming us. So that's where I feel we sit. Obviously, from a financial point, you have your unquestioned number one, but we're not trying to compete with them. We're not trying to compete with anybody else. We're just simply doing what we do. And I mean, that's really all you can do in a world where people want to create things where there isn't, and trying to jump on the bandwagon of the latest thing. All we do is continue to put out the best wrestling on the planet and do what we do best.
Awesome. Now you mentioned that roster. It's a who's who, really. You've gotten to wrestle some of the best, as you're mentioning, in the world. Who do you feel like you make the most magic with while you're in, or while you've been in Ring of Honor? Really, we know that you've went up against the people that are no longer with the company. Again, a relatively who's who of the business. So, who do you see across that ring, and you think this is going to be a tough night, but this is also going to be an awesome night?
I mean, that's the thing, though, is that's just about everybody you pointed out on the roster. I just had another match of the year caliber performance against Joe Hendry in the UK. People call both my matches with Cobb match of the years, with Bandito, the whole nine. Anybody you go out in there with has the talent to be able to push you to your limit at any point in time. So if we're then just picking personal favorites, I think anytime you're in the ring with a guy like Jay Briscoe, who brings that level of intensity, that brings something out of me that very few people can bring out. That adds a level of excitement for me, because there's nothing I love more than standing there going toe-to-toe and punching somebody in the mouth and seeing who drops first. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is that's where you earn your stripes. That's where you earn that respect and you build that legacy. Everybody wants to be the greatest, but to me, greatness is subjective. People that may not like my style of wrestling won't see me as great. You know what I mean? They will put a million other people in front of me because that's just the style of wrestling that they like. But nobody can judge or degrade who's the baddest. You know what I mean? And that to me is more important. I don't want to be the greatest of all time. I want to be the baddest of all time.
That's awesome. So you spoke a little bit about earning your stripes. You have been, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been wrestling since around 2007.
Yeah.
With 2007. With that, that's quite a business, or quite a good amount of time in the business. Are you surprised, just from breaking in 2007, that you're still wrestling? Is that something that you think that you would have this long of a shelf life already, or is it surprising to you to still be wrestling today?
Well, I never really went into it with any preconceived notions. I knew that I was going to bust my ass and work hard, and I knew what my goals were, and it was never to stop until I reached those goals. So if it took me, you know, 2 years to make it to where I wanted to, then it would be, I would have set new goals, and I'd still be doing this in some form or fashion somewhere. So I've seen myself always being doing this for as long as I can. So yes, did I think I'd make it to ROH? I wasn't sure. You're never really 100% sure. Anybody that says, "Oh no, I knew," you're full of it. You know what I mean? Like you had your doubts just like everybody else. But I knew with the people that I had around me and the work that I was doing, the work that I was putting in, that I was going to be successful somewhere. It just happens to be that it's in Ring of Honor.
Now, when you started out, like we said, 2007, did you kind of have an idea of what your persona, what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be, and also like how important was it to be true to yourself during that whole process?
Well, it's the common thing now to say that the best characters in wrestling are versions of yourself just turned up. And when you first start, you have to find out who it is you are in the ring, who it is that you're trying to be. And it took years of figuring that out, but a lot that helps with that is being in the ring with people better than you. And once I was able to hone in on who Shane Taylor is, what I'm trying to do, and what I'm trying to be, that's when things started to take off. And the fun part about that is not only do you grow and evolve as a person, but you grow and evolve as a wrestler. So, the same views you had when you were 20, you don't necessarily have when you're 30. Things change. So in that, I've been able to change who I am in the ring, how I present myself, and the goals that now I want to achieve inside the ring and outside of it sort of mesh now. So it creates the perfect balance for me when I'm able to perform.
Awesome. Now, if you've seen on social media at all lately, there's this decade challenge where it's 2019 now, and you look back at 2009. So, if you're looking back at 2009, where you were in the business, is there anything that you would tell yourself then that you know now about the professional wrestling business?
Oh, there's a bunch. I think primarily the number one thing being don't take things personal, and learn to hear no and accept no, and understand what that no means. And that doesn't mean that it's the end of the road. It doesn't mean you'll never have another chance. It just means not right now for that particular company or for that particular promoter, yada, yada, yada. Like, coming from an athletic background, my mindset was if I work harder, perform better, then that's my spot. That's not necessarily how wrestling works.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nepotism, there's a lot of favoritism, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of BS, so not getting caught up in that, and not having the business side of things affect how I was personally feeling would be the number one thing that I would say to myself now. And it's something that I've learned to sort of adjust and get better at now.
Now, it's something that we hear about a lot, or we've heard about in professional wrestling, is sometimes it's kind of looked down upon to be a fan of professional wrestling, which sounds crazy to me. Like, wouldn't you want to be a fan of something that you love and want to put your time in? But regardless, I know that you used to go and watch wrestling growing up. Who were some of your people that you really looked up to in professional wrestling, or even when you broke into the business wanted to maybe like emulate or have a career similar to that person?
There's different things that I took from different people. First and foremost was Ron Simmons, to be the first recognized African American world champion was huge to me because that wasn't something that I got to see a lot growing up. A lot of the characters that I saw growing up were stereotypes of black culture. Whether they were just they were either constantly dancing or just doing ridiculous stuff, or they were the super thug, and only emphasize street stuff, or any other stereotype and misconception that not only professional wrestling but society has had about our culture. That's pretty much all I saw, and that all changed once I saw Ron and once he beat Vader for the world championship, and to see a whole stadium of people in Atlanta going absolutely nuts for this dude that just worked hard and was a good dude and was just an athlete. To me, that was the first time that I was like, okay, it can be done. We can be successful just being us and just working hard. So that's what I took from him, and that's something that I prided myself on throughout my career, is never being anybody's stereotype, never feeding into any misconception or misnomer or any sort of box that people wanted to put me in. And whether that cost me opportunities or not, staying true to that is what I'm going to do for the rest of my career. And of course, being a larger athlete, seeing the agility and the physicality of guys like Vader or Bam Bam or Terry Gordy or Stan Hansen, Undertaker, just to name a few. I pick things from everybody and add that to my game, and it's turned me into the performer that I am now.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the fact that Ron Simmons was the first African American, and we've seen. I am a person that I hate to say it sometimes, but I don't feel like I've ever felt discrimination. And here on this podcast, this is a great opportunity to talk about these things. And you as a performer who is African American, do you feel like today, with the Jay Lethals, with yourself, with Kofi Kingston, do you feel like the tide's finally starting to shift towards this? This, I hate to say like the misconception or whatever, but do you feel like that African American wrestlers are finally starting to get their due, and hopefully this trend continues?
I think there's definitely progress being made, and that's a great thing. Progress is always good, but let's not forget that pro wrestling has always mirrored very closely the values and the stereotypes of society, right? So, as a society, people still like to stereotype black people and black culture. They like to only see us as being able to do certain things or only being allowed to do certain things, or that we only should be doing certain things. And for a long time, wrestling did the same thing. You would have people that would mimic black culture, mimic how we talk, how we walk, mannerisms, the whole nine, and make millions. Yet, those who actually make the culture were relegated to, damn near obscurity. You know what I mean? So, and of course, with some of the people that you mentioned, with myself included, we are seeing a change in that and improving that. We can have depth of character. We can be complex characters. We can be the hero. We can be the bad guy. We can overcome the odds, the whole nine. And we're not just, going to show up and sing and dance and tap dance, or just only promote the most violent aspects of our culture just so people can pretend that they're living a dangerous lifestyle that they're not really a part of. So that's what's important to me. And I know talking to others, that's what's important to them. It's just leveling the playing field and making sure that everybody has a chance to chase their dream and chase it their way, not just the way that someone has told them they have to do it.
Absolutely. It's surprising too, obviously you're a professional wrestler. I'm somebody who interviews people, and we both probably, in some way, shape, or form, see the dirt sheets and everything. And there's been a lot about race lately. You've seen some stuff down in NXT with in WWE. Also, this past week with Jim Cornette. What for somebody who is on the other side of that? What are things that you think can be done that kind of help steer the ship the right direction? It's still kind of mind-boggling to me. It just really is that it's 2019 and that there's still this sort of racism happening. So, is there anything? I know I'm not asking for the magic bullet, but like, is
right.
what can be done?
Well, there's a lot that can be done. First and foremost, I think it requires whoever's marketing teams or approval teams or whoever is in charge of, getting these things to air or dealing with talent to have people of different backgrounds and ethnicities in these groups and in these meetings, because a lot of that, is going to stop when you have people of other cultures and backgrounds in these meetings. For example, if there was if there's a T-shirt design that is of poor quality, if you have more people on your team that are of that background and they see that, they can point out to you, hey, that's probably a bad idea. We should probably go in another direction. And then you miss all of this. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
None of that ever has to happen because it never leaves the planning stage, because you've got people in positions to handle things like that. So that's the first thing. You have to have, if you're going to market different backgrounds, you have to have different backgrounds represented on those marketing teams, so you know what you're talking about. You have the cultural knowledge. You have the history. So you know where to go and you know where not to. And then, of course, with things being brought to TV or brought to YouTube or anything like that, having people on that team to say, yeah, I probably wouldn't say that either, is also a plus.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to then question, well, if you allowed it, do those at the top feel the same way? That's why they didn't see a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it goes much further than the performer. It goes to the very top of these companies. And, there are a lot of companies, and this is since the beginning of wrestling. So it's not just it's a problem for this company or that one. It's all over. That as an African American performer, you do have people in power, in different spots, but you have them in power, and they do feel that way. They do feel that you only should be this, or they don't see you as talented as the next person, and they already have those preconceived notions and stereotypes about you. So they do things to test you. They do things that would drive anybody nuts and put anybody in a situation where they would be angry. But as an African American performer, once you then become angry like anybody else would, then that's their excuse to say, oh, you're unprofessional. You're hard to work with. You are, you're causing a problem. And then you just feed in and give them a reason to do that to the next person. Right? So you're forced with the option of taking it and enduring it and not saying anything, or standing up for yourself and then possibly losing your job. So it's a very tough road to go down. I am thankful that I am now in a place where I get to work and not have that be an issue. Other people aren't so lucky, so, but it is on all of us still to work as hard as we can to eliminate these type of things in any company that it happens in, and create a better world for the next generation of stars.
Absolutely, and it's important to talk about. It's heavy, but it's important because there are so many kids out there that watch the product, and there's so many people that watch it, and it really is such an amazing art form and sport that really a lot of trends come out of professional wrestling. You hear catchphrases or whatever. So the way that people, excuse me, the way that people are portrayed carries, and so it's important to kind of have these positive role models and reactions and everything. So I'm glad that you were willing to talk to us about that. And but I want to get back into this real quick. Ring of Honor Television Championship.
World Television Championship. World
Television Championship.
Yes.
It does. It makes a difference. It really does.
It does.
Yeah. So, hard fought battles all around with you. Where do you see taking this title? It's we're talking right now. It's November. It's you're knocking on 2020's door. Where do you see not only taking the World Television Championship, but Shane Taylor in 2020? What's in store?
I mean, I plan on, and I made no bones about it, I plan on breaking Jay Lethal's single reign championship defense record. He is seen as the standard bearer, the gold standard of Ring of Honor. He is the epitome of what people think of when they see and hear the word champion. And I want to eclipse that in every single way. Because again, I am not an office champion. I'm not a guy that's going to toe the company line. I'm going to do things my way and do things the way that I want to do them, the way I believe they should be done according to my vision. Not everybody agrees with me, but that's fine because I only need my guys to agree with me. So for me, being able to usurp that status that he has and force everybody from the office down to the wrestlers, down to the fans, to see that I am the new standard of Ring of Honor. That to me is what's important, to be able to have the presence of mind and to be able to have the legacy that even guys from past generations of ROH would look at and go, "Oh wow, that's his era, that's his company now." That's what I want. And we're just getting started, going into 2020, final battle, Dragon League, December 13th in Baltimore. That is Ring of Honor's final chance to try to take this championship off of me before the end of the year, because they know what happens at the end of the year. They tried to sneaky come into my match in Vegas at the last second, hoping that he was going to walk out with the championship. Then it didn't happen. So now here we go again. Now he has this one-on-one shot. Nobody else is involved. And I know what they would love to have happen is him win the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, his brother Roosh holding the World Championship. I'm sure it'd be a feel-good story for everybody. They'd love to have the confetti come down, and the whole family moment again. But we're not dealing with fairy tales here. We're dealing with reality. And the reality is that I've already put down 12 people. The reality is that he's only going to be number 13, and I'm going to walk out of Baltimore, Maryland, and walk out of Final Battle and still the Ring of Honor World Television Champion.
Well, it's certainly there, the passion, everything. I loved talking with you today. There's only an upside for Shane Taylor as far as I'm concerned, but I would also be remiss if I didn't ask you, this Thursday is the big day, Thanksgiving. What does a Shane Taylor Thanksgiving look like?
Oh man, see, it's different now that I live in Texas than when I lived in Cleveland. Because Cleveland, I was there with my family. We'd have the aunts and the uncles and the grandmas, Meg and all the favorites. So if you're just asking me what my ideal one is, obviously, you got the smoked turkey there. You got the baked macaroni and cheese, classic staple. The greens, the yams, the whole nine. the stuffing. No cranberry sauce. I'm not really a fan. I know people are like, "Oh, is this so good?" It's not good. It's trash. And then for dessert, either Pete's cobbler or sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie. It depends on what your flavor is, but to me that is the ideal Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Well, I wanna just say right now too, for anybody who's listening to this on another wrestling podcast, if anybody is looking for some, I'm gonna do this for you, but you may tell me to redo it. So, anybody's looking, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and then we have Black Friday, and then it's that holiday time of year. And if you are looking for some Shane Taylor merchandise, you can find it over at ProWrestlingTees.com. Other than the Pro Wrestling Tees site, how can fans keep up with Shane Taylor?
I appreciate that plug, sir. And once again, for anybody that missed it, if you're in the merch buying mood, the holiday season is coming up. Head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Shane Taylor, all lowercase. Get your brand new Shane Taylor promotion shirts, along as well as a bunch of other great designs that we have there. Obviously, Twitter and Instagram at Shane216Taylor, Facebook's Shane Taylor. And yeah, man, that's about it. But I just want to thank everybody who's listening to this, everybody who's been following me over my 12-year career so far, everybody who's supported me along the way. Thank you. And we are just getting started. We have an incredible 2020 for you guys. We have an incredible, next decade for you guys. I'm not going anywhere. Even, even the haters, I'm still not going anywhere. You can hate me for the next 10 years. It ain't changing. But we're going to, me and my team, me and the rest of Shane Taylor Promotions, Ron Hunt, Bishop Khan, Michael Moses, we are going to not only change the world, we are going to run it.
I did want to ask real quick, Shane Taylor Promotions, are you looking for potentially a really good podcaster to join the Shane Taylor Promotions?
I mean, we can talk about a lot of things. You know what I mean? Obviously, most of my legal stuff is handled through Ron Hunt, so he would be the guy to talk to. You talk to Ron; he'll run the numbers past me. If the numbers look good, we can talk.
All right,
I'm all about business.
Absolutely,
everybody
that.
eats over here.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Love to have you back anytime. I look forward to seeing you walking away the world TV champion, and from now until 2029, 2030, I don't know, but
that's right, man. That's right. Forever champion.
Yes.
Forever champion.
Pleasure talking to you. I hope you and your family and everybody listening has a great Thanksgiving and holiday season, and enjoy it, man. It was such an honor talking to you.
Thank you, man. You and yours as well, all right?
Thanks a lot.
You be safe out there.
I really appreciate it. Have a good one.